back. Episode 7 of the Mizerable Mets podcast. Sunday, February 4th. We're doing a little check-in after the recent signings. Finally made some bullpen moves. So it's us, Miz and Damian. And I think the team looks a lot more of what we're going to see starting the season. So we'll get into it and break down what the roster is looking like right now. Because we have a pretty decent picture. You know, if anything, we might have one or two changes. But, you know, we got 3 arms since our last episode. Ottavino, Diekman, and Fujinami. What's your instant reaction to that?
I like it. I mean, the Japanese pitcher, he's a flamethrower, like you said before to me. I remember facing him with Oakland, which he didn't do too well there, but then he went to Baltimore and found a different version of himself. Hoping we get that version because he throws some heat. I saw some clips yesterday, and he has some nasty, filthy stuff. Diekman, he definitely is like a seasoned veteran, so to me, that's always a good thing. Ottavino, listen, he was cheap, whatever. He's one of those guys, like you said before, man, that you know the first couple of pitches, what kind of outing you're going to get from Ottavino. So I think if we don't put him in high, stressful situations this year, he's going to be fine. But if we count on him too much, he's going to burn us. So I'm definitely in a better spot with our bullpen than what we were. Like, it couldn't get worse. You know, it definitely got better because we added arms. But I'm still thinking that one more bat and on a somewhat reset year, I think we have a solid enough team to at least contend for a wild card spot. You know, but yeah, bullpen to me is shaping up to be a better bullpen than before.
Yeah, I was the last episode. I was so against Ottavino because there was the rumors about him coming back, and I couldn't believe it, especially after he turned down the option. You know, you would expect, all right, he turned down an option, so he should sign for more than what he turned down, but he ended up taking a $2 million pay cut.
Nothing.
So, I mean, what a terrible series of events for him and his agent. I mean, that was just foolish.
He fired him. Had to have fired him. He lost money.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. And so, you know, I was pissed kind of when we signed him because in my mind I'm thinking, all right, they're gonna settle on Ottavino and that's it. We're gonna be going into the season with Ottavino as our setup man. And then we signed Diekman. He is a very, very strong arm from the left side. I like a lot of what he has and his potential. And with the Rays last year, I mean, he crushed it. 2.18 ERA in 45 innings. And he's had some good years. He's been effective, throws hard. You know, I'm always a fan of the flamethrowers in the bullpen, especially those back end guys. So to have someone like that from the left side, especially, and for him to complement Brooks Raley, I like that signing a lot. I think he was kind of on the back burner of what we might go for, or at least in reports. You know, he was thrown around just because he would seem to fit. And, you know, I'm glad that they ended up going with him since we didn't end up getting Wandy Peralta, who ended up, you know, signing for a 4-year deal with opt-outs every year. So good for him. But, you know, I'll take Diekman. You know, it's a consolation prize that I'll take. And then, of course, we signed Fujinami, who he's an interesting case for sure. Not many people can throw harder than he does. I mean, he started the season as a starter with the A's, so you know I give him some slack. He's you're starting with the A's, first year in America, and you're starting with a team like that in a horrible situation to succeed. And you saw a lot of their successful pitchers didn't do well. So he did horrible to start with them, and he got traded to the Orioles, like you said, and had a really good stretch with them. So I think his main drawback
Attribute.
that we've
Yeah.
seen, or yeah, the main drawback is that he has no control. He doesn't have command of his pitches, but like most major league pitchers, when he does have command of his pitches, the guy's averaging over 98.4 miles an hour. The
Mm.
guy has a splitter like most most Japanese pitchers, and he's got some nasty stuff. And he carved us up last year. Later in the season, I think it was like his first or his only 1, 2, 3 inning. I think it was his first 1, 2, 3 inning, which is kind of sad. But
Yeah.
if
I
he
went
could
to that game.
replicate that,
I was at that game.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
bad.
he
The 7 line.
yeah, he's what's nice about him is that he has minor league options. So if he doesn't end up working out in the beginning of the year, then he can get sent down, and we can, call up someone else, or not call up someone else, but someone else can take his spot coming out of the spring. So that'd be a good place for him to work on his craft, figure out what needs to get done if he doesn't end up figuring it out before the season starts. So I think that was one of the biggest things that I liked about signing him is one, his upside, and two, his ability to be sent down to the minors. I think is huge because looking at the roster right now, it's really really interesting to see how the Mets are gonna set up their pitching staff, because now they kind of have a ton of arms that have the potential to make the major league team. Um, I've been seeing, and I think it's just really based off of what kind of deals they signed. When you look at the bullpen right now, they're considering Drew Smith, Jorge Lopez, Jake Diekman, Brooks Raley, Adam Ottavino, Edwin Diaz, and Fujinami. That's 7 relievers that are considered not locks, but they're pretty much locks for the bullpen, because they're all big league experience, all major league pitchers. They're not going up and down from the minors and stuff. And then there's essentially Michael Tonkin, Max Kranick, Austin Adams, Phil Bickford, all competing for one spot in the bullpen. So that's 4 pitchers, or 4 pitchers competing for one spot. All that all have good stuff, and you can even throw in like Johan Ramirez in that rotation. But that's not even counting Tyler McGill or Joey Lucchesi.
Right.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how this bullpen / rotation shapes up, because what if McGill comes out and is throwing gas and has command of his pitches and is looking like he did, in those few starts in the beginning of what was it, 2022, that
Yeah.
he started the first game of the year.
Yeah.
And he came out and was like, oh shoot,
Yeah.
yeah, he looks good. And same thing with Lucchesi. Lucchesi, he threw really well last year, and he seems to finally be healthy. So would they consider a 6-man? And then if they do a 6-man, then they would only be able to have 7 in the pen. So it's just, there's so much that could change depending on how this bullpen ends up looking.
Right.
Because McGill and Lucchesi are major league arms that could do well and that have done well in spurts in the past. So what do you think? Do you think do you think a 6-man rotation is at all likely, or would be a good thing with this rotation, considering who we have on it and their history of really not throwing a lot of innings?
Absolutely, I'm all for it. Do I think they're going to do it? No. Keep it real. But it makes sense, right? It made sense maybe last year. I mean, with the talks of Senga coming in, but also our BP. The good thing is now we're starting to see that we are starting to have an abundance of arms, and we're going to need it because we're going to use that bullpen a lot. You already know that. But a 6-man makes too much sense. But I don't expect them to do that. I think we're a little set in our ways. Maybe if we had Buck still here, we would have done it, but even he didn't do it. So, but it is nice now. What you said. Now we're starting to see where we have multiple options opposed to before. Just a week ago, we were kind of against the wall with who we thought was gonna be in our bullpen, and I don't want to put too much weight on anyone but Diaz. Diaz, already has that. That's his job already, and anyone else, I think, should just be by committee. I would love to have a setup guy. I forgot about Lopez. I forgot about that guy, and I mean, we've seen him in what he's capable of. Brooks Raley last year, he had I think, an okay season. But if we can get something out of Fuji, man, that'd be great because his upside is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you imagine like having to face him and then Diaz. I mean,
Hmm.
geez. So, but I mean, I see Stanek is still out there, right? So, I mean, imagine we get him. That would be nasty. Someone like him, that has a 2.9 ERA and a bunch of appearances for the Stros too. At that, I would love. That's who I thought maybe we're going to go after. Someone like him. That to me is a more of a setup type of guy. But if we don't get no one else, I'm comfortable. I would love a 6-man rotation. I think it would be God sent for us, but I don't think the Mets are going to do it.
Yeah, I think it'd be something that'd be great to explore at least in the beginning of the season,
Yeah,
especially as the guys kind of. It takes about a month or two before the starters are stretched out and fully comfortable, going 6-7 innings, because you don't really see people going 7 innings early in the season, unless they're lunatics like Scherzer or something, and
yeah,
then they're
I
not
know.
pitching in the end of the season. But it's it's a interesting situation that they put themselves in. Um, and I would like to see everyone get a fair shot. And I think we mentioned it on the show when Mania signed. You know, those people in the rotation that are penciled in right now, like Severino, Mania, and Hauser, them three especially, they shouldn't be given the role just because of who they are and what deal that they signed.
Right.
Um, they should earn the role. So if Lucchese outperforms Mania, then Mania, even though he's signed as a starter and is making enough money, I think he should go to the bullpen if he doesn't earn that spot. I think if Severino can't throw a strike or is up and down with his health, then they should make sure to pump the brakes and make sure that he's fully healthy or whatever the case may be. Uh, I think everyone in the rotation should earn the role. Besides, I think Senga and Quintana are obviously a different case. But when it comes to the bottom three, I think there's five people fighting for those last three spots. I mean, you could say you can add Jose Budo on there as well. So there's really like six people fighting for those last three spots. So I just hope that they don't take. I hope they don't just go the easy route and go with the popular names as opposed to who earns it.
Yeah, which is highly likely for us to do that. Um,
But
who
it'll be
else?
interesting to see with
Right.
Stearns though.
True.
Because
Yeah.
Stearns, he's different mind, different
He's different, all
different.
right.
Yeah, he's different.
Yeah,
I mean, he's making these weird signings for, I think, for that reason. He wants to see who's the best performer. So
yeah, yeah. We might have, and myself included, overreacted. I think throughout this offseason where we're like, "What are you doing, man?" And it does. I mean, all jokes aside, it does seem like this guy is just literally trying to see what he has in the organization before he punts on players or commits on others. I think he wants to overall just see in his first year what he has going forward. He has to be happy with our farm system, because we bought one in essence last year. So he definitely went in, came in into that. So he must be happy with that. You saw all the three top names are starting in AAA to start the year. We already touched that. We're going to probably see them at some point this year. So he's probably happy with that. Um, I'm just a little shocked. I am a little shocked though because I know he has ties with a few teams, and I really thought he was going to pull the trigger on a couple. Because again, we will reiterate the market is what it is, and it's to his favor. So I really thought a 1 or 2 year deal for this guy, that guy that he saw in Milwaukee and saw in Houston before, he was going to take a shot for us, but he's sticking to his guns, man. He's definitely like doing a full analysis. It's not what most people like, I think, not what most people expected under Cohen ownership, but it's what it is. And if in a couple of years we look back in this year and say, listen, he came in, he was given the keys, and he literally assessed the whole team as a whole, and kind of like weeded out the players that he thought maybe weren't going to help us, then so be it, right? But I mean, it isn't the most popular thing because it still is annoying when you see people like Peralta, for example. That guy, that contract was, I never heard of a guy take. He had a 4 year deal with how many opt outs? I mean,
3
what?
after every year.
So, and then Neris had a 1 year deal. You can go on and on and on. They're all 1 year deals with just like weird contracts that just are still in the team's favor. So uh, I think that, and you notice that the big bats are still out there, which is insane to me. I mean, the biggest one to me at this point probably has to be Bellinger. That guy, I thought by this point he would have signed something big, and so he's, I think, dictating the market a little bit. Soler, JD, which is to me a shock as well. Um, Justin Turner was a little shocked. I thought maybe that was going to be the guy we are going to end up with, with what he signed. But if we get one of those bats and it's for way less than what we thought we were going to pay for them, then it's a win.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be interesting to see in hindsight, once everything's said and done, how those other 1 year deals end up doing. Um, like a lot of the guys that we wanted, Phil, Maton, Peralta, Neris, Dave Robertson, all those 1 year deals, Matt Moore, I mean, we didn't want Chapman, but Chapman, Brent Suter, all those guys we've talked about. It's going to be interesting to see how they do compared to the guys that we signed, because our team is essentially the poster for high ceiling.
Yeah.
But I'll take high ceiling. I'll take the gamble for 1 year transition. I think he's putting his bets on as many high ceilings as possible, and whoever does well might get retained for next year, and then he's really going to go ham for next year.
Yeah. Hopefully.
I think that's the thought, and then if people do well this year, uh, maybe we compete, and if not, then they get traded to someone for prospects, and he sets that up for the future, and I like it. I like the moves that are being done. They took their shot after Yamamoto, so they were going after it. And we said in the first show they had the two routes that they were going to take: Yamamoto route and not Yamamoto route, and this is what the non Yamamoto route is. So, they took a hack and they missed, but I wouldn't want them spending a lot of money on who was available this year anyway. So we just got to deal with what we got. And would it be worth signing someone like Naris to 9 million? No, because we ended up getting two pitchers for that money. So I see I like and I see or I see and I like what Stearns is doing and thinking. Um, we signed Fujinami and Diekman and if we sign Naris, that wouldn't have happened. So
Right.
I'll take it. I think having those extra options in the bullpen, especially, the bullpen is so weird. You can get one guy for 1 year and he can have the best year he's ever had, like Aaron Loop. So
Right. Right.
that's what I'm
Right.
hoping for. That's what I'm
Yeah.
hoping for.
We said, in the past, LA is playing chess. We're playing checkers. It sounds like we're playing Monopoly now. Like I said, we're not
Yeah,
as low as the checkers game, but it's a little bit more intricate, like Monopoly. No, it's not chess though. We're definitely not doing that. But
yeah,
uh, but I still fall back on what you said multiple times too. Getting a even if we go and get a bat now, and let's say by some time in the season we're pretty much out of it, you could flip that, man. So I think that that's still part of your job to put yourself in a spot where you compete because you need a bat. I mean, it's just it's obvious, and if it doesn't work out, you flip it for more prospects, and it's like a win-win, and so that's why I'm still positive on and still maybe betting on us getting like waiting to the very last minute when we're like someone is really really low, come money wise, and still pulling the trigger and getting someone like that because he can potentially be more prospects if we do, have a bad season, and which is highly possible. So I'm still holding on to hope.
yeah. And what we've seen from the DH market, Jock Peterson signed for 1 year, 12.5 mil.
Where did he go?
Uh, he signed with
I missed that.
the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks, I think.
Oh, really? They were in the
Yeah,
market for JD. They had JD going there.
yeah, yeah, Diamondbacks. So
Wow.
uh, he 1 year, 12.5. So that I like that because that's one less team that was in on JD
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
is
Exactly.
is cleared.
Yeah.
Aaron Hicks signed with the Angels. Obviously, we talked about Hoskins before,
Yeah.
and
JT.
like you said
JT.
earlier, Turner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what did he end up getting like 12,
He got 12
12 or
with like
13, something like
with
that?
incentives. Yeah, with incentives that can make it go up to 14 something. Like yeah, no, and remember how we talked about where he's 39, he can still play a position, but he's still 39. So someone like Soler, I mean, I'm all about performance. So if you give the dude a deal where it's also filled with incentives, to me, it's a win-win. That's why I think everything is pointing for us to sign one of those two. I think now, and if that happens, I think people are going to say, "Wow, Stern stuck to his guns. He, everyone trashed him, but he ended up getting what he wanted at a bargain." Because I'm still shocked to this day that all these players are getting what they're getting. Man, everyone's in cahoots. There's no way. There's no way that these agents, these GMs don't talk because it's wild. Like, would you expect that Bellinger? I mean, to this point, not being signed. I mean, and if he does get signed, what's he going to get now? You
I
know?
don't think anyone has any idea because he's
Yeah.
such a tricky case because it's
Right.
like what version are you going to get?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah. It's crazy. Soler was hot. Soler was a big name. They were saying 3, 4, even I remember reading 5 years. I'm like, what? Because he's 31. So it's I feel like a lot of people are in the same boat. With just the whole market and it. I think that would be somewhat of I would call it a successful offseason if we end up getting someone like that and then saying, wow, this guy literally still added to the bullpen. Like you said, he didn't go for the big name. He was able to flip what they paid for that guy and got two pitchers instead. And he waited to the very end and got what he wanted and paid what he wanted for, the bat. And to me, that'd be successful, you know?
yeah, well, that's why I'm still not trying to panic
Right.
because I think the prices are being driven down. I think things got crazy for a little bit and then they started to regulate because I think we saw and the league saw that they're not going to be overpaying for everybody. They're
Mm-hmm.
not going to set this new market
Right.
of players averaging 20 million a year. It's like I don't think they were trending down a really bad path. So I think they all probably talked to each other. They probably had a Zoom
That
meeting and
had
was
to.
like, all right,
That
we gotta
happened.
we gotta figure this out.
Yo, that
Yeah,
that
because
definitely happens,
it
man.
was true.
Come on, man. I mean, yo, if you've printed out the reports of free agents, before the World Series ended and till now, you'd be like, you would not believe that this guy went to this team for this amount.
Yeah.
They're all in cahoots, all of them.
But yeah, I think it's regulating now, and it's good to see.
Yeah.
So when looking at the DH market, we have Turner or we have Peterson around the 12, 13 range, and then we have the ceiling was probably Teoscar at 23 and a half. So Teoscar, I think was the best option of everyone offensively. So when you look at Soler, you think he's somewhere in the middle because he, even though he sucks in the field, he does still play the field and is younger and is coming off a great year. So I would put him somewhere between 15, 15 and 17 million is probably what he'll end up signing for. Something similar to Hoskins. Hoskins had the 2 year 34. I think Hoskins is a much better player than Soler. But his discounted rate is coming from the injury, whereas Soler is just not as good, and is coming off of one really good season.
Yeah.
And he's had pretty good seasons in the past, but what he did last year was definitely an outlier type of
Yeah.
season.
Let's talk
So
about that. Talk about that injury with Hoskins. So, as a baseball player coming off an ACL, someone like him that plays first base, which is obviously better than him, you know, playing an outfield position, coming off that injury. So, time frame. I mean, but had to play busting into first. Like how, like compared that injury with other sports compared to it now with baseball, is it very similar as far as like the rehab? I mean, you
yeah,
know,
well, so it's really where he feels it is the starting and stopping. So he's not a burner, so it's not like he's stealing bags and stuff. I think the where he's going to feel it most is one, running out the box, two, running on a hit, three, sliding back to first base sucks. Because that's, I mean, you're fully going on your knee there, and pushing off. And in the field, maybe not as much unless he has to dive. It's first base, so I mean, there is quick, fast movements that you have to do sometimes. So I think he would probably start the year DHing,
DHing. Okay.
yeah, and just taking it easy. Hitting wise, I don't know if it was it his right leg or his left leg.
I know. I could see it like it was yesterday. It was spring training, right? He was going to first, wasn't it? I think it was right.
Hoskins.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see.
Do you think that injury was a big deal for
He was
us?
fielding a grounder.
Oh, okay, he was playing defense. You think that did we weigh that heavy, that injury?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
well, the thing that's good about ACLs is that they've gotten that surgery down pretty well these
Right.
days. I think it's just more of he hasn't played in the whole year, and it's a serious injury, so it's just working him back in. I think his performance is going to come back, and he's going to be. I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
So I think it's just more mental than
Right.
anything.
Hmm.
And some people can't get over the mental of the fear of re-injuring something like that. So
Yeah.
I think he'll be fine. But hindsight, he would have been a great signing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good player. He
He is,
puts up
man.
numbers.
He does. He's clutch. Yeah. We talked about it. He is against us. He's really good too.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so now I think we're pretty set on the relief market. It's funny after we signed Ottavino, I'm like, oh man, now I hope that's not it. And
Yo,
then we
I
signed Diekman. I'm like, all right, I feel better
yeah,
about the Ottavino signing now.
I gotta tell everybody when we signed Ottavino, like I text me and your reaction we can't say it on air or whatever on the video, but it was what everyone expected. It was hilarious. You were not a happy camper.
Yeah, we'll have miserable Mets after dark,
Yeah,
maybe during the
yeah,
season.
yeah,
During the season, we'll add that segment.
yeah. NC
But
17,
yeah, for now,
TVMA.
we're keeping it PG.
That
But yeah,
was funny.
it'll come out for sure. So yeah, I think after the Diekman signing, I'm like, oh wow, I can't believe we signed Diekman. That's cool.
Yeah,
And I thought we were definitely done. And then we pulled out another move. So you know, Stearns is there. He's working.
he's cooking.
He's not sit. Yeah, he's not sitting
Yeah,
around.
with
Waiting for
leftovers.
things to happen.
Yeah, he's cooking.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm excited, and I I think there's still things that are going to get done, and the reason why is for one, something has to get done
Yeah,
because we need to make room for Diekman and Fujinami.
right.
So we have to make a trade of whether it's a reliever or whoever it is that we end up trading. We're gonna end up making a trade. Like we just saw, we traded Heineman for cash considerations. So
Catcher.
I'll take yeah.
Yeah,
So I'll take that. We trade whoever we trade. It'd probably be a reliever. We'll probably trade for I don't know what. So I'm excited, and I feel like he has something else ready to kind of on the way. I don't know what it is. Maybe he trades for a DH.
you've been
I
calling
mean,
this.
we've been so
Yeah,
focused on signing a DH, and maybe he doesn't sign one. Maybe he trades for one. So there's some teams out there that are selling off. You see the White Sox are someone who could possibly trade off like a Jimenez, something like that.
I'm all for that.
You have
Definitely.
teams you have teams like Oakland that have people they could trade. Those bottom of the barrel teams that have decent players that they could trade to try to build for their team for the future. So I'm not counting a trade for a DH out. I think it's a very I think anything is possible. And if he doesn't, I think what's nice about Stearns is that he's not going to overpay if he doesn't think it's the right thing. He wouldn't have signed Scherzer or Verlander when we did because if it's not at the number that he thinks is right, he's not pulling the trigger.
Yeah,
And I think that's why we haven't gotten a DH yet. And I think he's probably looking at every single angle to get a DH and if nothing makes sense, then he won't do it. But I don't think he plans on going into the season with Vientos and Beatty in the lineup because right now they're penciled in as starters. I mean, they have no competition. Joey Wendell, I don't consider competition, and I don't consider.
Stewart.
Uh, I don't. Well, he's an outfielder. Oh, well, for DH, you mean? I don't. I don't really see him as. I mean, yeah, he's competition. He did great at the end of the last year. Would he be able to replicate that? I really don't know. I hope so.
Yeah, he
That'd make
mashed.
for a nice. That'd make for a nice competition, but I don't think he'll be able to replicate that day in and day out as a starter
Yeah,
every day across the whole season. But you never know. But I also think that he's more of a. I don't even know how they're going to. He's more like a pinch hitter type, I
yeah.
think. But But like I've been saying the whole offseason, I think Vientos and Beatty have to compete for third base and not be penciled in for third and DH. I have high hopes for Vientos. Something just it's just a feeling that I get. I think he's going to do extremely well. I think Beatty's
Yeah,
going to lag behind, and I think everything's. I think they're going to look at. I think we're going to be in a situation, whether it's in February, March, or April, where we're like, damn, Beatty is not performing to the level that we thought he would be at. And that's why I think all this talk, I think Beatty would be the central chip of a trade that the Mets do for a DH. I could see that happening. I could
yeah,
see them trading Beatty and like a reliever or mid-level prospect for a decent DH. Um, and you got to do it before he fails.
yeah.
I
No,
mean,
exactly.
he didn't do great
Yeah,
last year, but he did
no,
have flashes of performance.
yeah.
So
Well, he has that beautiful swing, you know.
yeah,
He has it all. The guy looks like a baseball player. Um,
yeah,
he just, yeah, I don't know. It might be mental. He's so young. With Vientos, you're not the only one. I saw something. I tried to find it. I couldn't find it. I think SNY or Fangraphs. I don't know, but they compared Vientos and Soler. I think it was, and
uh huh,
I think Vientos, according to like I don't know how they do those fan graphs, but I think a few experts they put in their 2 cents. And Vientos actually they have him as it stands right now either as equal or of Soler or outperforming him. So you ain't the only one that thinks that he's gonna have a pretty solid season. And they had like 5 or 6 like top stats, and they were pretty much like mirroring themselves. And I think I saw where Vientos was actually he pulled away with having a better season. That's what they're predicting. So yeah, man, you ain't the only one.
yeah. I like him, and I just think, and something I've been saying is, I think Beatty or Vientos is the odd man out. But you look at the future of this team. Jet Williams is going to be here before you know it. Um, we have Drew Gilbert who plays outfield. Then you slide maybe Marte over into a DH role. It's any of those guys are
Acuna,
a 3 month stretch of
yeah,
dominating in the AAA to
right,
being called up.
yeah.
So
It's gonna happen. You know
and,
it's gonna happen.
and Beatty and Vientos, if they're not performing,
See you.
I feel like they gotta make a decision.
Yeah,
It's I think that's where we're at, and I think having Gilbert and Jet Williams and Acuna right there, chomping at the bit, ready to
yeah,
come up, wanting to come up, motivated young players. I think I just think that yeah, some change is coming. I think I just have a feeling that
yeah.
change is coming.
You saw that picture of those three. They did like a photo shoot in Queens at that city. It was pretty dope. They kind of like were embracing like New York. Like they just were all about it. And
Yeah.
you could tell like the big plans the team has for those three kids. They
Hmm.
see them as being the future. So um, again, bro, I said it before too. That's what Stearns learned in Houston. He learned under that tutelage of just investing in the farm system and just growing your own. And that's what you have, the dynasty that you have in Houston. And I'm all for that. I think that's great. To me in baseball, there's nothing like homegrown, man. It is. I mean, the NBA sort of does the same thing. The NFL doesn't. What other top sport? Hockey does it too, but like baseball is the one sport where you have you literally sign a player when he's 15, 16 years old, man, and he is part of your organization for how many years, and then if you're able to hit on that one guy and he ends up becoming somewhat of a superstar or just a solid player, I mean, it's a beautiful thing, and we have three
Yeah,
so far.
yeah. Well, yeah. Like you said, the thing is with the baseball is they're not signed, and then you see them on the team next year.
Hmm.
That these guys, we hear about them for 4 or 5 years, sometimes
Yeah,
6 years, sometimes, and then you finally see the hype on the field, and it's like, oh shoot.
Yeah,
So yeah, it definitely adds to it because you just hear about them in the background for a while, and then once they show up and they actually perform and they do it on a consistent basis, like wow, like this is
right.
awesome.
Yeah, and
So
you mentioned before too about like it'd be great to have our next next Reyes type of thing, man. And the Mets in the history of the Mets,
oh
we've had that. We've had it. We've had it with them too. We had it with Darrow and Doc. Before that, with Nolan Ryan and a franchise. So it's part of our history to we are a team that develops players and they come out to be great players. So in that part, I'm really encouraged. I think that's definitely our end goal, our end game.
yeah, yeah, I'm excited. I think there's a lot of potential with that young core in AAA, and
Yeah,
I think it's really going to give Vientos and Beatty a good fire to perform at the MLB level because if they get sent down to AAA, but they might not be starting in AAA.
I like that. I
I
like
mean,
that they know.
obviously they are, but
Yeah, yeah, but that's good though. That you brought up a good point. That's great that they know we have to figure it out because there's young boys down there and they're coming. And I think that's great for competition. I think that's when you start to really see who you have in players. When when they're backs against the wall, they make it happen. And I think that's exactly what a big what Stearns is doing.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm excited. It's definitely a different season than I think we could. It's
Oh
going to
yeah,
be a very exciting, interesting season
right.
that we've had in the past. Because this season we have not low expectations, but the bar is not set too high for the Mets in terms of critics and the professionals saying they're forecasting the Mets maybe catching a wild card. So what does that mean? 80 low 80s wins.
80. Yeah,
So
it's
there's
not
not a
far
whole lot
fetched.
of pressure on them.
No, Arizona.
Yeah, there's
You got to
not.
be Arizona. That's not asking for much.
Yeah, so I think that's nice going into the season with the low expectations. A lot of high ceiling type guys. They might end up having their best year. You never know. So it's gonna be fun to see, especially with the return of Diaz. I think confidence wise adds a lot to the bullpen because all they're thinking is let me just get this to him.
I can't wait
And
to hear.
I
I
think
can't wait to hear those trumpets, man. I can't. I
oh yeah,
cannot wait. I cannot wait
oh
to,
yeah,
bro. Like, oh man,
the
it's gonna
stadium's
be
gonna is gonna
be rocking.
fall apart.
Yeah, yeah, man. That's it. That's it. It's my wife's ringtone, by the way, too. To this day, bro. Just it builds up, and then bang. Who would have known, bro? Like the song came out years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't
That
wait.
song is so fire.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I'll be I'm praying at the home opener
Yeah, I won't
that
be there, unfortunately.
everything.
I'll be there in
I'm
spirit.
hoping everything goes as planned. I hope Senga goes 6 to 7
Yeah,
easy innings.
yeah,
I hope whoever comes in relief just 1 2 3 1 2 3,
yeah.
and then just Narcos just blast the freaking speakers.
That's so dope. You're gonna be there for that first time, man. I'm gonna be in Puerto Rico prospecting players. I'm gonna be
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, I'm gonna miss that home opener, but I'm gonna try to make that first big middle of the month game. And then yeah, and then to summer. Did you see a good segue? Did you see how they put out there that they're no longer going to do the night games in the
Yeah,
summer for Saturdays?
I love that. I love that.
That sucks. No fireworks.
Oh, for the summer. Oh,
Yeah.
it's not the whole summer, is it?
I mean, even if they take away a few, I mean, my daughter's first game was a Saturday night Harvey game where she saw fireworks, and my daughter like fell in love with the Mets even more because her first core memory is Mets game at night, fireworks, and they took it away a few games at least. I didn't like that. I was
No,
like,
I
wow,
think it's just the beginning of the year.
yeah, okay,
Um,
just making sure because man,
yeah, because I don't think they really do fireworks in the beginning of the year. That's
dude,
more of a summer thing.
that's true.
Yeah.
I
So
must have
it's
read it wrong.
let's see, it's
It's freezing in April
pull up the
anyway.
wrong thing.
Yo, April,
Oh, okay. Yeah,
yeah.
so all Saturday games will start at 1:40 from March to May 25th,
Mm-hmm.
or
Just making sure.
410
Okay,
or
good.
410 from June to September.
Making sure, man.
So
Yeah.
yeah, by 7 o'clock, it probably won't be dark. I don't know.
That's probably a good thing anyway, because like April in Flushing is like winter. It's cold, man. So no one's trying to be there at nighttime. So that was actually a smart decision.
Yeah,
My
and
bad.
it's
My
nice for
bad,
us,
Mets.
especially
Yeah. Yeah.
especially for us coming from South Jersey. It's
True.
that trip home is brutal sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
Just making show.
especially and it's also nice to like spend the night. So you know you're not getting out of the game at 10 o'clock where you can't really do much. You know
Yeah.
you're getting out at 4 or 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Then do you quick shower maybe, or you just go straight to the bar from there. So
Yeah.
uh,
We do like what we do. Just for the listeners, what we do is sometimes we make it like a weekend thing where we just stay, and it's dope. Like we either stay the day before, or the night of, and it ends up being a good time. And because Queens itself, I think, has, I mean, from when I was a little kid till now, I can't recognize it. It's beautiful, and what they're doing and what they're going to plan to do around the stadium, I can't wait. That's going to be so dope to stay in the hotel right there and just walk around a little like Mets Village. That's gonna
yeah,
be wild, man. You know?
yeah, I can't wait to see all that done for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that pretty much covers everything that we have missed, I guess, since the last show. It's nice to have actual new things to talk about as opposed to speculation. Numerous signings. Bullpen is shaped up to what it's going to be, and you know a lot of decisions to be made in the pitching staff, both rotation and the bullpen. And you know we're still hoping and praying on that DH. I think if we get
It's
a
coming.
DH,
It's coming.
if we get a
Yeah.
DH, then all the people that were crapping on Stearns of not doing moves or anything, I think if you look at the offseason as a
That was
whole,
me. My bad.
if you look at the offseason as a whole, you can't say
Yeah.
it's a failure,
No.
because he's made a lot of moves.
Yep.
Whether they work out or not, it remains to be seen. But you know,
Yeah.
I'll take the activity and I'll take the depth. And if one guy don't work, next guy in line, next guy in
Yeah.
line, next guy in
Yeah.
line. So I
Yeah.
like that we have a long line of people that can we can keep pushing through in case something doesn't work. So
Yeah.
some of them have to hit. Yeah,
Yeah.
the law of large numbers. You know, someone has to do well. So
Yeah.
that's
I
what I'm
think it's
hoping for.
mainly. I think it's Cohen mainly like that's getting the heat because people are just pissed off that we're like operating like how we're operating. I think that's what it is, honestly. If you sit back and think about it, like he's the one that hired Stearns. He's the one that gave Stearns the keys. So, we're just so traumatized with the Wilpons where if we have an offseason like we've had where we don't really spend like this, we're as advertised. I think the articles that are being put out there, the interviews on TV, the reporters, the writers, the radio, they're kind of annoyed at Cohen. But listen, um, we're not owned by the Wilpons. That's it. To put that in your head, and that is nothing but a good thing because I think that ultimately our owner has our best interest at heart. And the one mistake he did, and it will haunt him, and he's owned up to it. Is that whole 5 year thing where he said, I'm going to have a chip here in 5 years, and he walked back those words. He was giddy. He said it when he first bought the team, but I'm not holding that against him. So
Well, he set a goal, whatever.
yeah,
I mean, they
exactly.
almost did it in 22. They had the everything going right. So
True.
They just had a horrible GM at the time, so
That's it. Yeah.
uh, that's one big fix that they've made. So we'll see how things move forward, and
Yep.
hoping for the best. But
Yes, sir.
hopefully for next show we have a nice DH or something to talk about. And I can't wait for spring training to start. Just a couple weeks away, and
Yeah.
we'll start to see who showed up to play, who got it in over the winter, and how Severino and all these what ifs and maybes to see how they look.
Yeah. I just read Senga's on his way to Port St. Lucie right now. So that guy, he's
I love
already
it.
in. Yeah, I love it. He's already in that mode, bro, in game mode. So let's get it.
Yeah, it'll be if anything, an exhilarating season. It could be good or it could be bad, but it's gonna be good stuff to watch
Yeah.
because with so many question marks, it'll be fun to see what pans out and what doesn't,
Yeah. We got
and
thick skin, but
and
we're
how
Mets
they
fans.
yeah, and it'll be nice to see how they transition,
Yep.
whether it goes well or if it goes bad. So, uh,
Yep.
so you got anything else to say? Anything to
Let's go
throw in?
Mets. Let's go Mets. That's it. Now, let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets.
That's it from us today.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in, and of course, I hate when other channels do it, but I guess it makes sense now being on this side of things. Like, subscribe, share as much as you can.
Yes.
Get the
Please.
word out if you like to, send us some questions on Facebook, on Instagram, on Spotify. Send us some questions so we can debate or
YouTube.
talk. Yeah, on YouTube, so we can talk about questions or topics that you want to talk about. Um,
Yes.
we're always open to it, and
Yes.
if you have enough good questions, maybe we'll bring you on the show and invite you as a guest. So
Yes. And thank you
that's
to
us.
the people
That's
that have
it.
shared our stuff. Thank you to that, for that.
Yes, very much appreciated.
Yep.
Um, so we are signing off. Miz Damian, Miserable Mets, and let's go Mets.
LGM.